Greetings everybody and welcome to Just an Army channel. If you're new, please like, subscribe, and share my content as it greatly helps the channel grow. Today we're going to be talking about 10 fun facts about Stanlee. And this is going to be episode 1 for Stanlee because there's so much history on him and stuff. The third episode is going to be on Jack Kirby. So he has had an interesting history, ups and downs, merged as so many other things and other greats have done. During and after World War II, what else can I say? He had a lot of stupid mistakes, but that is human nature. In all honesty, I think it shows and tells about who and what he was. It gives you that real insight to who he was, and I was thinking many times people get it wrong, while others attempt, but to understand him, we will explore his history. Here is 10 of the most early history of Stanlee. And like I said, we will be doing multiple episodes on Stanlee, but we're gonna litter it as we go and stuff. So this is episode 1. Stanlee, well, before Stanlee began working in the comic industry, he served in the Army where he was tasked with writing for the training film division in Queens. Now remember, this is World War II. So, incredibly enough, the other people who worked for the training film division at the time, including the future Dr. Seuss, director Frank Capra, and the creator of the Addams Family. Later, he would become interim editor as a teenager. When Stanlee first went to work at the company that would become Marvel Comics, he was there to perform whatever menial tasks were needed. Thankfully for him, soon after Lee got his first chance to write for the company, legendary comics scribes Joe Simon and Jack Kirby left Marvel. As a result, Marvel's publisher was desperate, so he promoted an inexperienced Lee by making him interim editor, even though Stan was only 19 at the time. See, I never knew these little kind of tidbits, you know. Number 2, he was a poet, obviously, someone who has a flair for words. Stanlee turned himself into a legend due to his writing abilities. Despite that, a lot of people have no idea that during the 1970s, Lee wrote an epic poem called God Woke, an incredible piece that you can hear Stanlee recite if you search for it on YouTube. Lee's poem even got turned into a novel, and that was released in 2016. Number 3, Stan versus Marvel. By the time of Stanlee's passing, from the outside looking in, it appeared like there was no ill will between him and Marvel. However, that wasn't the case in the early 2000s, as Stan felt that Marvel had failed to compensate him for all the other movie successes they have had throughout their time, and it's been littered like that, and were obligated to do so. As such, Lee sued Marvel, and after an out-of-court settlement, he received an undisclosed seven-figure sum of money. Number 4. Gwen Stacy's death agreed upon, not realizing it. So, number 4 is about Gwen Stacy and how he agreed upon her death, and by inadvertently not realizing he did it. While Spider-Man has been involved in many fantastic moments, some stand head and shoulders above the rest, including the death of Gwen Stacy. Amazingly enough, according to an alter ego magazine Stanlee interviewed for, he gave his permission to have Gwen Stacy pass away, but he didn't realize thinking about it. This was the case because Lee was getting ready to travel at the time, and when he returned from Europe, he was shocked at Gwen's death and had to be reminded he agreed to it. That sucks. That really sucks. Number 5. Reinterpretation. Earlier in this list we looked at the fact that Stan Lee once re-imaged several of DC's comics' most famous characters. Apparently still interested in that kind of thing during the early 2010s, Lee co-wrote the New York Times bestseller great novel Romeo and Juliet: The War. In this reinterpretation of Shakespeare's classic play, both families are made up of superhuman soldiers that are at war. Furthermore, on this reinterpretation and a crossover event with regards to DC Comics, when it comes to Stan Lee, there is absolutely no question that he will forever be associated with Marvel Comics. However, a lot of people don't realize that during the early 2000s, he briefly worked for DC Comics. During this time period, Stan worked with several DC in-house creators to write a 13 series called Just Imagine, in which he puts his stamp on the company's most famous characters. See, I didn't know that. And when I did this, I was kind of like, I double checked that just to make sure I was right. Number 6, poor partnership, unfortunately, situation. During the late 90s, Stan Lee was approached by a man named Peter Paul, and the two created a project named Stanlee Media. Fortunately, after Stan created some new characters under that business banner, it turned out he put his trust in the wrong person. After all, Paul exaggerated the company's profits to investors, which resulted in him getting busted for fraud by the SEC. It should be noted, during the SEC's investigation, they found that Lee wasn't involved in the wrongdoing. But still, like I said, it is what it is, right? Number 7, exiting the stage over a dispute with Marvel. During the early 1960s, comic book medium got next to no respect, and Marvel's publisher even asked Stan Lee to dumb down his writing. Severely frustrated by that demand, Lee decided to leave Marvel after creating the Fantastic Four, which he wrote exactly the way he wanted to. When the Fantastic Four became a hit, it gave Lee the freedom to do things his way, so he stuck around. That's interesting. See, I didn't know that he created the Fantastic Four. Number 8, extreme executive. He directed. In reality, we all know that Stan Lee wasn't a filmmaker. However, technically speaking, he has to be included among the most successful film producers of all time. After all, due to all the characters and storylines he created, Stan was credited as an executive producer on pretty much all of the Marvel movies and shows up until his passing. And I believe there's something in his contract that they still got to kind of do cameos on him after his passing as well. So, number 9, sad and a morbid job. At the height of Stan Lee's career, he regularly wrote stories that were known for being full of fun and life. That must have been quite the change for him, as early in his life, Lee worked for a news department in New York, writing obituaries for still alive celebrities that could be run when they passed away. Now that's funny. I don't think it's kind of morbid, but I think it's kind of funny though, and stuff. So there's a lot of weird things that they did in those time periods, way back in the 60s and 50s and 70s and all that. So number 10, the father of more than just characters. When most people talk about Stan Lee's contributions to the comic book industry, they tend to list off the best-known characters that he co-created during his career. Sadly, one of them, those most important creators, often gets ignored, and the shared universe. After all, it was Lee that decided to have characters from different comic series like Spider-Man and Daredevil exist in the same world and interact. And that I kind of knew about, but yeah, that's interesting nonetheless, But that's our top 10 for Stan Lee. This is episode one of 2. I don't know when we'll have the next one that will come out for Stan Lee, but The next one up, episode 3, will be on Jack Kirby. And like I said, he will be littered as well too over a series of different episodes and all that, because these two are the marvels of the comics, and 10 fun facts are just not enough for these two titans. All right, so take care, like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you think down below. Tell me what you think about Stanlee. I know there's some controversial things between him and Jack Kirby and stuff, and we'll explore all that too as well. So take care, everybody. Bye.